Hello guys and gals, my name is Eclepid and welcome back to my playthrough of the letter, The Good Run. We are now on Chapter 5, Rebecca's Route, as we just finished up Marianne's route and she was able to make it out with her life. Now we are going to save Rebecca from her impending doom, and she will live and prosper and thrive. There was a lot of new text, considering in the last route, the last time we did this, we killed off Rebecca. And also, Isabella was dead, but now Isabella is alive, so plenty of new things to enjoy. This is how it begins, or so they say, with a gentle wind drifting through wide-open windows, muffled laughter, and footsteps fading behind empty hallways, and the light kiss of the afternoon sun. Soon there will be a call, a crossing of thresholds into the unknown. Maybe we are off to some grand adventure, or diving into another gripping mystery. One can't really tell. For all I know, a hero might even come sweep me off my feet if I'm lucky.
That's not exactly a bad thing when you think about it.
But this is far from one, isn't it? A riveting tale, that is. The mild breeze, the faint murmurs, the warm rays painting every nook and cranny a fiery hue. They are all as real as they can get. And now, we are going to skip a little, considering we already saw this part. Actually, I could probably skip to the next choice, but I don't want to miss anything. So, I've been out the past few days. Sorry for not being able to get anything out to you all, but should be back on track now to get the rest of the videos out before I head off to school soon. And with Rebecca's good route, what we're also doing is we're making all the good choices. All the choices that will raise our affection levels with every character. This is going to annoy the heck out of me. Seeing all these new things. Alright. Should only be a minute to clear these things out. Alright, there we go. Rebecca Gale's birthday, April 1st. She's 29 years old, she's 5'5", a history teacher. She's atheist, and she has a master's degree in education. Scottish descent, grew up in Luxembourg, and went to school at St. Goretti, where she teaches now. Sometimes my patience can only be tried for so long. What are we gonna do? We're gonna say we're not in the mood to talk, or the cold has caught up with us? Well, the best choice would probably
And during the open house,
be the cold.
even if there were a lot of people around, there were weird things happening. I don't know if there was anyone else who noticed, but I heard things. I'm sure it wasn't because I fell down the stairs. Even before that, in the attic,
Isabella!
Yeah?
A pause, though I don't let it last, only to give myself a small window to breathe before I lay down the words between us with as much restraint as my patience allows. Which is not much after everything. I can only help. Isabella will simply take them as they are. She can be stubborn as a mule when she wants to be.
This kind of conversation tonight. Look, it's been a long day. I think this cold also caught up with me, and I'm really exhausted. Can we talk about this some other time?
She blinks, and although disappointment flashes momentarily in her face, she gives me a curt nod. A relief enough for me, perhaps the first time I generally felt it today. As unpleasant as this day has been, seeing something go the way I've anticipated takes the edge out of it. Even if lying through my teeth has to go with it.
Oh, alright. You should have just said so. I told you you should have taken a full week off. Were you able to get the meds I brought you, though? Do you need anything? I could drop by the pharmacy for you.
Yeah, no need to fuss. A good night's sleep is all I need. I've been busy the whole day. I guess I should have listened to you and taken it easy. But we have exams to prepare for. It's one or the other, you know?
I knew it! Here I thought you were just upset about something. Even Ash looked a little bit worried about you.
It's fine. Let's just head home, okay? I'll make it up to you next time. Call me out to lunch or wherever. Just not right now.
Okay, but should you be driving? If you want, I can call a taxi for us. You'll hate paying the extra fees, but you'll be able to get some rest on the way home.
No, don't call a cab. I can manage driving at least. Just get in the car so we can be on our way.
I'm already opening the door and climbing into the seat before she can protest. Left with no other choice, she follows inside instantly, albeit with a bit of reluctance. The guilt from this will eat me out later, but for now, these little falsehoods are mine to bear and hide under. For now, this is the better choice. Better than pretending she doesn't exist or giving her vague answers. Certainly better than harsh words and outright lashing out at her. I can find a little comfort in that. Thankfully, if there's anything left to be spoken between us after, we won't have to discuss it on the way home. Or rather, we can't, because no sooner than we hit the road, Isabel dozes off. Despite my foul mood, I still end up suppressing laughter once the first sounds of her breathing fill the car.
Not your mom, Isabella.
Alright, and pretty sure we have seen this part already. So, yeah, we definitely have seen this part already. So, we're gonna skip through here. There's crackling in the back. She sees the ghost. Today is the 25th. And I think this was the Isabella Dead story update. Yes, this was the Isabella Dead story update. So, Isabella's alive. We're at new text. And sometimes they come through your mailbox in the form of a fancy-looking letter, pretty ribbons and all. Whoever sent this or has spent silly money on the envelope alone. Verging on and ridiculous, really. I can already imagine Isabella wrinkling her nose when she sees this. Then she'll complain about unnecessary expenses and rich people problems. I'm almost afraid to touch it myself. As if simply brushing a hand against its crisp surface will be enough to put a crease on it, and it'll be a terrible slight to the sender. But as extravagant as I find this, it really isn't the first time I've received one. Most of the time, it's not even for me, so who am I to complain? Either way, no look of surprise crosses my face once I flip the envelope over to see my parents' names written in a neat script.
Nothing new then.
Their years in the academia naturally brought it with it various connections, people from other fields, art, science, business, politics, you name it. This one, though, gives off a much personal vibe. Letters like this usually come from old students, people who've grown fond of my parents, and they in turn treat like children of their own. I've only met a few of them. Most have moved on to become successful in their chosen careers, and little letters like these are their way of expressing gratitude. It's one thing Mom and Dad are proud of, and rightfully so. I'm happy for them. But there are times I wish they'll remember they have a daughter here. The real one. Not that it's any importance as of now. It's not like they didn't raise me well and provided for me. They did. I wouldn't be where I am now if it weren't for their hard work. And like a dutiful child, I'll do everything I can to give back. Even if it's as small as the thing as letting them know they've got another mail waiting for them. The phone rings for a good minute before someone answers. Mum, her voice is warm as I remember.
Becca?
Hi, Mum. How's the conference going?
Well enough. Until your dad sprained his ankle.
Oh no, is it bad?
I'm alright. In case anyone in this family cares to listen, I'm alright. Very much alive, darling.
And there you have it. He'll be up and walking in a few weeks, don't worry. We're going to have to extend our stay here until it heals, though. Is something the matter?
Nothing big. Just that this mail arrived for you this morning.
A lie, thankfully she doesn't notice. Although, if I'm going to be honest, a small part of me yearns for her to do so and ask me about it, but I put down that idea almost as soon as it surfaces. I shouldn't make them fret, they're busy.
What does it say?
Raise your glasses, give cheers to the good times, blah blah.
Becca manners. That isn't how I taught you to read.
Sorry, you are cordially... it's an invitation, Mum, for a housewarming party. From, Hannah?
The name rings a bell, though at the moment I can't recall when or where I've heard it recently. It must have been nothing too important if I didn't bother committing it to memory. There are a lot of Hannahs in the world, so who knows.
Hannah.
She also wrote you a note, Mum. It says you used to be her private tutor at the Evans mansion, and that she misses you and would love to see you two again.
Ouch. It makes my heart clench to read another openly say those words to them, the same ones I want to tell them. I want to see you too. It's been years since we've been together as a family, and if there's one thing that hasn't changed from childhood, it's that Mom and Dad are still busy with their respective careers. Out of the country, away on some meeting or sometimes months on end. It only grew more frequent with the years I'm old enough to live on my own. I'd like to think that's how I've become independent at such an early age. They've always praised me for that. At times I wish they didn't.
Evans? Oh, I remember now. Honey, it's Hannah. Hannah Evans. Remember? Bright girl, 2 years older than Becca?
Didn't she get married a few years ago? 7 now, But they grow up so fast, these kids.
Yeah, she invited us to that too. Fonte de Medici. But we missed that one because you had to present your paper in Singapore.
We did send her a note after. Still a shame we couldn't attend, though. What is it about this time?
She sent another invite for a housewarming party. Becca, when is it?
This Friday, Mum.
Oh, that's too bad. We'd love to be there, but Da's not in a condition to go walking around. I guess we'd have to decline again. I really miss that girl.
I could go in your place.
I let it slip without thinking. Personally, I've never been fond of gatherings, regardless how simple people make it seem. But if there's one thing I hate hearing, that disappointed note in Mom's voice always ranks first. Whether it's directed at me or some other thing doesn't matter.
Are you sure? Don't you have work this Friday?
The event will be in the evening, Mum. It shouldn't take anything away from my schedule. It's all right. The invite's for 2 people. I can bring someone with me so things don't get boring.
I see. Maybe you can also invite Ashton?
Mum, that's a sure no from him. He hates attending parties, but I'll see what I can do. If not, I can always bring Isabella with me. You know her. She won't say no if there's food involved.
Okay, if it's not going to be a big problem for you, I don't see why not. We owe you this one, darling.
No problem, Mum. I'll even say hi to Hannah for you.
Please do. And let her know we'd love to see her once we're back in the city. Leave her our number or something.
I will.
But you know, the 2 of you would have become really good friends. Don't you remember? You met with her once. If my memory serves me right, you were 12 then?
This too I can recall. I can't recall. It's probably one of those meetings where we only talked a bit before going our ways. If she did leave an impression, I'm pretty sure I would have written about it somewhere, or at least recognized her name. As it is, the only few people I clearly remember from the time of my life is Ashton and Mandy. To some extent. Mom must have sensed my confusion because she laughs.
Don't push yourself too hard, darling. Really? It felt like having 2 daughters back then. Sometimes I wish they didn't send her away to boarding school. But, well, you know how often that goes with them. Still, try talking to her while you're there.
Oh, we'll see. I'll let you know what happens after.
I'm looking forward to it, darling. Take care of yourself.
Will do. You too, Mom. Bye. Tell Da to be careful next time.
She chuckles then, a hearty one, tender and always light on my ears. She may be a stern teacher, but this is the part of her I love the most. The sound of it still echoes even as her call comes to an abrupt end, bringing with it a memory from so many years ago, when life and responsibilities that accompany adulthood are far from our minds. If given the chance, I'd love to go back to those. I don't dwell on it, though, shaking it all almost away as the memory forms a clear picture in my head. I've always wondered how Isabel can easily pretend everything's normal over a phone call and then bounce back to her usual self immediately after. I've seen her do it plenty of times. For me, it just drains whatever energy I have, and with the whole day of teaching still ahead of me, I can't afford to look exhausted in front of my students. Even for a wee bit, it's never a good example to set. So, with another sigh, I put everything at the back of my mind and tread back to my room. The rest of my day awaits. 15 minutes later, I'm heading back out dressed for the day, my car keys in hand. Ordinarily, I don't stop for anything. There's never a need to. That's the beauty of this apartment complex. It's quiet and everyone keeps to themselves. No useless platitudes in the morning. No need to wear a smile on your face lest other people are nosy enough to ask. Today, however, the morning broadcast took place from Isabella's room. My brisk pace slows to stop, and a frown gradually forms on my face.
She hasn't left.
Of course, this isn't unusual. There are times when I've left earlier than she did, like last Friday before their open house, but those days are far and few between. It only happens in the direst circumstances, though the last part of that might have been a bit of an exaggeration. However, with what's happened the last few days, then maybe today is one. The death of a friend isn't something anyone can brush off, and for someone like Isabella's the kind who gets attached to people easily. With Zachary, Ashton, and I, that has been the case. I can't imagine what she might be going through right now, especially when the woman was someone she owed a lot, despite their training being brief. I have to wonder. I should be on the right path. Isabella's not dead, right? Because this looks very similar to what happened before. No, she's alive. Alright. I'm just stupid. I've given her the space last night in deference, but perhaps today might be the proper time to check on her.
Whatever. I've still got time anyway.
With light steps, I move closer to her door, hand already poised to knock. Still, I don't do so until I hear her answer me.
Isabella? Belle? Are you in there?
No answer. After a second, I finally knock, lightly so I don't disturb her in case she's been sleeping and smartly left the telly running last night. Never mind how she never lets that happen, ever. Waste of electricity and all.
I just want to check on you before I leave. Is that okay? Are you going to work today, Belle?
Still nothing.
I'm about to leave. If you want, I can drop you off.
Another round of knocking. Then I'm fishing a copy of her key from my bag and unlocking the door. She lent it years ago after I complained about the mess and offered my help in cleaning up. I thought the gesture was completely unnecessary back then. After all, I could always knock, but she never did bother taking them from me, always returning it or turning away from the conversation whenever I insist. At one point, I simply stopped trying to hand it back to her.
Isabella? I'm coming in, all right?
Without waiting for her answer, I pushed the door open and stepped inside. Her unit's still a mess. Instant noodle cups on the table, a pile of clothes on one side, papers strewn about everywhere, and an unkempt bed, among other things. This much is a given, will always be a given. I've been here several times already, and I still wonder how she can function like a human being with the place in this state. However, that's neither here nor there. I'm not sure what I'm expecting, but it's certainly not finding an empty flat. Granted, she could have left earlier, far earlier than usual, but she never ever leaves without making sure she unplugged everything. That's something she never does, that she doesn't forget to do. It doesn't help that her bathroom appears unused this morning, another habit, and it could only mean she hasn't been here since last night, perhaps even the mornings after Mrs. Cooper's death. Either idea doesn't sit well with me with what the news we've been hearing lately.
The authorities are still trying to find the cause of death for all the victims. Early investigation revealed most of them were employed under Briar Realty Corporation at the time of death. Meanwhile, BRC has refused to comment on this.
Gathering my wits, I immediately place a call to her mobile. It rings for a good minute, the sound of a comfort in itself, but when another minute rolls by without her answering, well, I'm not a woman prone to panicking. Sound bouts of temper, maybe, but never panic, despite how may I sound when I speak. And when it ultimately goes straight to her voicemail, a sigh is the only thing I let out. The pause doesn't last, though. In the next moment, my fingers are already moving across the screen in search of the two people who might be able to help. It's Ashton's number I find first and dial. Call it a habit, but even Isabella thinks he's dependable when the situation calls for it, despite how much they give each other grief. That already says a lot about him. There's Zachary, but around this hour he's probably still sleeping. If he has freelance work, it's very likely he's just gotten himself in bed. He's the last person I want to bother, if anything. The wait doesn't take long. Soon, a click, then Ashton's voice echoes through the receiver, rough and still heavy with sleep. He never did grow fond of mornings.
Christ, what time is it? What's up?
Not you, apparently.
Good one. Did you call us early just to make that joke? I'm going back to sleep.
No, Ash, hold on!
Becca, stakeout last night. Make this quick. I've still got a few hours before the chief bothers me.
Sorry, I'll let you go back to sleep after. It's just that... Wait, you were on a stakeout last night?
Did I say that? Forget I said that. Forget I said anything. Forget we had this conversation.
So, you have no idea?
About what? About what? I also have no idea why we're talking so early in the morning, so there's that.
No, will you stop sleep talking or whatever for a second? Belle didn't come home last night. She's gone.
Who?
Isabella!
Instead of an answer, a brief pause comes after, followed by something blunt and heavy hitting a hard surface and a string of rather colorful curses from him. The moment might have been one of the many things I'll keep to myself and remember fondly in the next few days if things aren't the way they are. When he picks up again, there's no trace of sleep left in his voice.
Say that again, from the top.
Isabella's gone, Ash. She didn't come home last night.
She was murdered.
Her flat's empty. She left her telly running. You know she doesn't do that at...
Okay, Becca, stop. Calm down first. You're starting to panic.
I'm not!
You are. Breathe. One person's not going to simply disappear like that. This is Isabella we're talking about. Did you try calling her?
What did you think is the first thing I did? She's not picking up! It went to her voicemail!
How about Zach? Did you check with him?
Not yet. I didn't want to bother him. You know he has trouble sleeping and all that.
Alright, I'll go ask Zach. I'll call you back.
No, wait!
He ends the call before I can utter a single word of protest. But for the first time since entering this room, tension has gone from my shoulders and my breathing has eased. The bed creaks as I sit down on it with a sigh, the telly still blaring the same uninteresting news, and I'm surrounded by clutter. All the same, it feels strangely calm to be here without worry nagging at me. I'll have to apologize to Zachary later for sending Ashton this way this early. But for now, relying on the latter for this isn't the wrong choice. It'll never be. That's something I won't ever doubt in him, much like his promises. And true to his words, he calls back only a few minutes after the last one has ended.
She's with Zach.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. She could have at least sent a message last night.
What are you, her mother?
It's one thing to hear that from Isabella, but from
I
Ashton?
don't want to hear anything like that from you.
I'm serious. You've got to stop treating her like she's one of your students, Becca. You don't have to keep tabs on her every time. Last I checked, she's only 3 years younger than the two of us. That's almost a decade gap from those kids you're teaching, you know.
Says the person who keeps calling her Scaredy Cat.
That's not related at all.
It's a term of endearment, Ashton Frey.
Anyway, I'll go check how she's doing. Don't stress yourself out. You go ahead to work.
Wait, you? Don't you have a precinct to be at? Whatever happened to not treating her like one of my students? Because if anyone's going to ask me, I think you're doing the same thing.
Zach said it's an emergency. Something happened last night.
Emergency?
He didn't put in those exact same words, but it sounded like it.
Ash, what really happened? Is Isabella fine?
She's alright. She's safe. Zach let her stay the night after she... Look, okay. Z-Man wasn't clear about it, but let me handle this. I'll check on her. I'll bring her home.
It sounds like a lie if I've ever heard one. The sort where he admits things so people won't fret, and I'm not sure whether I should be happy that he cares that much to do that. There shouldn't be a need for this between us, is there? We grew up together, didn't we? He knows I'm capable of at least hearing at the truth without gnawing at me for the rest of the day. He knows me better than that. I know him better than that. Frankly, there's plenty of other things to say about this, but despite, and after all the trouble he went through, with how things are moving at the moment, only one thought occurs to me. What should I say? Well, we don't want to piss him off. There we go. I recognize his concern for what it is. It's not new for him to go out of his way for us, and to be honest, this is what I love about him. As much as I would have loved to take this off his hands, it'll only be selfish of me to insist, considering he knows of my other commitments. To do so feels like I'll be trampling on that kindness he seldom offers to anyone.
Sorry for putting you up to this.
Nah, don't mention it. You've got other things you need to worry about. Take care of those first. This is a small thing.
I still owe you one.
Oh, I can name a few things you can do about that. You know, there's this ice cream shop that opened near the movie house. I could use...
Okay, let's stop right there. That's enough. On second thought, maybe I'll just think about it some other time.
Harsh.
We both laugh the sound lighter and more comfortable. Like the old days when a wayward 26-year-old is at the bottom of the list we need to worry about, of the things we need to worry about. This is how we find a common ground. We may not agree on a lot of things, we may see things the way the other does, but the give and take is something we've learned to get used to over the years. Whenever it's like this, confidence in him is the least I can offer as thanks.
Really? Thanks for this, Ash.
I'll let you know what happened afterwards. I promise. I'll call you later. You have a good day. Bye.
I admit, the way he puts it isn't comforting enough. He can be blunt like that, so many unknown variables, so many words left unsaid. I wish he'd simply laid them all out in the open, because like this, I'm more inclined to think there's an exaggeration on the other's part. If it's from Zachary or Ashton, I don't know. In the end, all I can do is wait, go about my day, and hope for the best. Before leaving, I spare Isabella's room one last glance, disturbingly quiet without her in it. I'll get answers from her later. For now, my concerns are best left here. The rest of the day slips away in a blur. Where are we at? Alright. Not on the common route again. Despite my best efforts in keeping this morning's events from surfacing in my mind, it sticks. In a way, everything today simply feels like a reminder. Every conversation, regardless of how casual, every topic, no matter how mundane it seems. I blame the news entirely for this. Recent happenings brought quite a few interesting stories to everyone's attention, mostly superstitious talk of death. And when locals talk about death here, anyone can sure as hell count on someone bringing up that mansion Isabella sold not a few weeks ago. Even my students won't stop yapping about it. I think it's even worse than when it was put up back in the market. Now, there are more stories. If this is the world reminding me of what matters, or simply because the atmosphere around this time of the year calls for it, I'd rather take the latter. At least then I can be sure people will forget about it in favor of another set of holidays after. Nevertheless, and this may be a painful thing to admit, but listening to them is a pleasant distraction while waiting for Ashton's call. I hope he didn't forget, the school day's about to end soon.
No, that's got nothing with what I heard.
You always hear stuff. I'm not sure if half of them's even real.
No, really. Rowan knows about it. He used to be in the same class with them.
I can hear you from back here, you know.
Whatever, Rowan. Anyway, the story goes like this. There were 3 of them. They entered the mansion on a dare, and they were all never seen again.
You could go ask Marianne about that story. I'm sure she could corroborate it.
No one knows what happened to them. Up to this day.
Marianne knows what happened to them.
Scary shit, man.
Cock and bull story. Calling it now.
No, you don't get it. Why don't you ask Miss Gales then? Better yet, why don't you go inside the place? I'm betting my allowance you can't do it.
Their talk immediately halts when I look up, all of them suddenly pretending to be engrossed in their current activity. Still, a word to put stopper to this nonsense is needed. Creativity and imagination fostered by these stories is one thing, but reckless ideas should be corrected before anything potentially tragic comes from
Back
it.
to your worksheets, everyone. And I don't want to hear any talk of dares or going inside that mansion. It's private property now. You'd all better stay away from it before...
At the noise, the whole lot of them go silent. You can almost hear a pin drop. The look on their faces would have made for a funny picture, but that's irrelevant at the moment. If that is a student loitering around, someone's going to be in
I'll
trouble.
be back. If you're done, you can leave your worksheets on my desk. Keep the noise to a minimum while I'm gone, okay?
I can sense their eyes on me as I walk out the door, a muted kind of anticipation. A bit unnerving, but it's far more agreeable than the feeling of being watched I've been enduring the past few days. Class is still in session for most of the rooms. In a few hours, once the final bell rings, however, this place will once again be filled with busy chatter and footfalls, an everyday cycle in itself. But for the moment, I let the silence guide me, my ears focusing on whatever sounds there are or will be, searching for that distinct clanging of metal. A good minute passes, and for the portion of it, only my steps echo through the halls, and another... I'm about to turn around when the sound of it halts my footsteps, a little muffled and infrequent, but grows louder after each interval. With the hallway devoid of people, if I don't put a stop to it soon, it'll start to disturb the other classes going on. Looking for it doesn't take long. All I do is follow the racket, and shortly I'm standing in front of a nondescript row of unoccupied lockers. And from the inside of one of them, sitting in the middle, comes the noise, annoyingly disruptive now that I'm facing it. Like someone's pounding on the metal door from the inside, hoping to get out. Leaning forward, I try to give it a glimpse through the horizontal slats of whatever is causing it. But in this light, only darkness greets me in another round of clacking, louder than the previous one. More desperate. I've heard stories before from other schools, from a few colleagues who have to deal with it once or twice. Although personally, I've never encountered one myself, and I can only thank the heavens I haven't yet.
If
But
this is another kid some other student stuffed in a locker...
with a huff, I straighten up and study it briefly with a frown. Without delay, I reach for its handle, and once it stops, immediately replaced by the muffled sound of a mobile phone ringing. I give the door a few raps before taking my attention away. A second, another. When nothing or no one responds, I finally avert my eyes and pull out my mobile. Ashton's voice greets me from the other end of the line, oddly cheerful in light of this morning's matters. Or maybe because I'm just expecting some grave or serious news from him. Instead, I get
Becca.
this.
Well, you sound happy.
I do? My voice still sounds the same to me.
There are only 2 things I know of that could be the reason for this tone. Sweets, or he's gotten a good lead in his case. From the sound of it, I'm going to assume it's the former, since lately that case is all that's running inside his head. If there's ever a third one, I've never heard of it yet. It can only be one of the 2.
Ignore that. How's Isabella?
We were home a few minutes ago. I think she's sleeping now. Sorry this took a while. Z-Man gave us the puppy eyes after we tried to leave. Had some food prepared for us, apparently. We didn't have the heart to say no.
That's all right. Is she okay now?
I'm not really sure. She didn't say anything to Zach, but she mentioned a plan to take a few days off from work. It was a passing comment before I left her, so I didn't get to ask.
Must be because of Rose's...
Could be. It doesn't seem like it from Zach's story, though. He said she was shaking when she got there.
Shaking?
The word triggers a memory from 3 days ago on the way home from her little treat she had after she sold the mansion. I didn't think much of it at the time, but I won't lie, it scared me. The terrified look on her face, how she sounded when she suddenly screamed.
Still there?
Yeah, I just remembered something. Sorry, don't mind me.
Look, if you can talk to her, get the story out of her. That would be great. She wouldn't talk to Zach or me even when I tried. Maybe she'll speak up if it's you?
I'll give it a go, but I can't promise anything, okay? You know how stubborn she can get, but thanks for letting me know about this. If you want, I can get you that ice cream thing you mentioned tonight. As thanks, just as thanks, for all the trouble I've caused today.
Becca, Becca, Becca. What have we here now?
Believe me, I'd love to take you up on that offer, but I've got something on my
denied.
schedule this evening. Maybe some other time? Thanks a lot, Becca.
Rejected, straight up. There's a short pause before he cuts the call from his end, and once again I'm alone with my thoughts. But rather than answers, all I got from him are questions. More of them, one on top of the other, as if the world isn't planning to give me a break anytime soon, but that's a problem I'll tackle later. Right now I've got students who need to be taught follies of eavesdropping if the slightly open door and their smothered laughter from inside is an invitation.
Alright, enough eavesdropping. All of you, back to your seat.
Is that your boyfriend, Miss Gales?
None of your business.
He totally is.
A quick scuffle follows that comment. If there's a retort prepared at the tip of my tongue, I drop every pretense of letting it loose on them. There's no arguing with these teenagers sometimes, boisterous as they all are. They're still my kids, though, rough around the edges, maybe, but still my kids. Shaking my head, I go back to the classroom with a smile, but not before taking a glance at the locker again. It hasn't made a sound
Must
since.
be the wind.
So, without another look, I leave it alone. The locker has just been stabbed. R.I.P. Locker. You lived a long and happy life. But now, it's time for you to go. Locker, goodbye, 2017. All in all, the entire school day ends without a hitch. It could have been gone better, mind you, but with the exams nearing, getting out of work before the sun has set looks as though it's a far-off dream for now. At least until they're over, then we have the holidays to look forward to. There really are times when you simply take what you can get for the time being. Alright.
Nothing wrong with that.
All I'm hoping for is this will continue until the whole day ends. There's still that promise I made to Ashton, and frankly, the idea alone doesn't sound good. If Isabella didn't talk to them, what makes them think she'll talk to me? Just because I can handle Isabella's childish tendencies doesn't mean I can do it all the time.
Really, those two give me too much credit.
Nevertheless, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, if only because I'm also worried about her. And both Zachary and Ashton deem it important that somebody get the story out of her. Here's to hoping it's got nothing to do with that letter. Again. I understand if she feels a bit stressed lately, but keeping that story going on for more than a week is... it's bound to get tiring at one point. Seriously, I merely don't want this to end in another argument. God willing, the cafe special will help smoothen things out. After all, it's always been food with her. Or money, but mostly food. At this hour, the cafe is usually filled to the brim with people. That's the reason Isabella and I rarely ever go here during the evenings. It's simply too much of a hassle when we can prepare food ourselves in the comfort of our homes, and there really isn't much of a reason to eat out lately. With life going on in a busy streak. No time for long lines. Better spend that doing something productive, yes?
Lucky there isn't one tonight.
Only a few people here idling around the counter here. 4 of them, in fact, a woman in her 60s and a teenager busy with his phone. Both are just waiting to be served their orders. The other 2, a posh-looking man and child who I immediately recognize as Kylie, appear to have not picked anything yet that they want. Alright. And we've seen this already. We're not gonna kick him because that would kind of be painful, right? First, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go here. We're gonna save.
Let me go, you uncouth lout!
Or are we not gonna shout for help? Does he want to be kicked where it hurts? Apparently he wants to be hit with where it hurts.
You have until the count of 5 to let me go and step out of my personal space.
He doesn't want to be hit where it hurts. Looks like we can't avoid
let me go,
hurting
you
him.
uncouth lout!
Oh well.
Or else what?
I'll scream.
Oh. He laughs at the derisive thing that rankles on my temper more than it has any right to. It's as if he knows I can't do anything, or he's above any authority that exists in the city, confident he can get away with anything. The gall of this man. I'd like to punch him right now if I can.
Nice try, lady. Why don't you drop the book first? You could kill people with that, you know.
Fat chance!
Oh no, that attitude won't do, Daisy. Here, let's try that again, like the proper adults we both are. Drop the bloody fucking book.
And then what? If you're assuming I'm...
Then we'll have a nice conversation over a cuppa. Establish why you're attacking a poor, innocent stranger with a deadly weapon, and maybe weave in an apology or two for the offended party afterwards. I'm the offended party here, by the way. My brain hasn't returned to its rightful place yet.
Innocent! Don't play dumb! I heard what you were trying to do with that girl.
Actually, you didn't, but we'll just go with that.
Just because she isn't my student yet, doesn't mean I don't have a role in protecting that child's innocence.
Protecting the what of who? Why would you? Oh no!
In the span of a second, that expression on his face changes faster than anyone is capable of. From pure confusion to sudden realization before deciding on a face of utter mortification. He's quick to drop his hold of my hand afterwards, like he's been holding a piping hot object and has just realized it's in his hands all along. He's far from a decent person, but he actually might make good money doing comedy. The look on his face when he starts babbling his excuses is almost priceless.
No, this kid's... Alright, lady, look, it's all a misunderstanding.
My tone can't go any flatter than the one I have now.
Right. Somebody help me!
He places a hand on my mouth before I spill the rest of it, and all at once, I'm caught between trying to stop him from smothering me and keeping his dirty hands off me. But even as my hands dig deeper into his wrists, he doesn't appear to have any intention of letting me go. Being allowed works, however. Soon the attention of practically every customer sitting in the small establishment is on us. I shoot each of them an imploring look, hoping one of them will have the sense to help. The sleaze, however, is fast enough to flash them all an embarrassed smile.
This lady's having such a bad day! Poor girl's just been through so much today! Nothing to see here, go on with your dinner.
Bad day? Even if this were a friendly chat, I wouldn't even touch you with the 10-foot pole, much less share any problems with you. Blighter, you're my problem! I want to blurt it all out, but with a hand covering my mouth and my lungs rapidly losing air, I bite down on his hand. Hard. It works.
Ow!
He yells, jerking his hand away from my face, stepping back to put as much distance between as he can between us while nursing his injured hand against his chest and muttering a string of very creative set of expletives. Tears have formed at the corner of his eyes from the pain, and small laughter almost leaves me. To be frank, he gives the impression of a kicked puppy with the glare he shoots me. A puppy I'm less inclined to feel sorry about.
You mad woman!
I warned you, you ass!
Why this is harassment, I'm telling you! Harassment!
Then why don't you tell that to the police once they get here,
You despicable! Whatever you're assuming I am, I'll have you know it's all in your head. None of it's true. You best have that pretty brain of yours checked before that gets worse. What is wrong with you? Is this the face of someone who'd do anything suspicious?
Oh? You don't think a stranger luring an innocent child with promises of sweets before whisking them away from their parents doesn't warrant any suspicion? You have a very funny definition of suspicious, asshole. Maybe you're the one who should have that head of yours checked.
The kid asked me to buy her sweets. You're the one who's suspicious here. I'll have you know. I have a wife.
That much at least appears to have a sliver of truth to it. He even makes a show of brandishing his left hand to my face with much flourish. Sure enough, a wedding ring is there, though all that earned him is an unimpressed glare from me. Immediately, a small part of me starts to feel sorry for whatever poor woman married this sod. I don't understand why he has to bring her up either, as if the mention of her alone will magically present a solution to his problem. She must truly be a remarkable woman, as if she can handle a dirtbag like him.
Even my wife of all people in this bloody city, has never, I'm telling you, accused me of such a scandalous thing! You crazy woman!
Married or not, you're still a sleaze. Honestly, I feel...
Miss Pink, why are you fighting with my teal?
Whatever words still left to be said here dies on my tongue. Becca, you can be so stupid sometimes. The same thing goes for the sleaze. Beside us stands Kylie, gawking at us with the same curious stare she often brings with her. I know that look all too well, a precocious child through and through. She doesn't say anything further, her gaze simply moves between us, eyeing us both carefully, clearly anticipating an answer. From my experience, when it gets like this with children her age, it's a sure sign they won't leave you until you've given them an answer what they're satisfied with. Lying won't do either. It's dissolved into a shouting match, for heaven's sake. And did she just say Tio? Something falls straight to the pit of my stomach at that. Yeah! You don't assume things right away, Rebecca. How about you ask next time? But my tone is gentle when I finally address her, any void of apprehension and what might be the first hints of embarrassment. I pointedly ignored the latter. It can very well just be the hunger speaking.
Kylie, sweetie, do you know this oaf?
Yeah, he's Tio Luke.
Right at the moment, my brain stops. Every line of thought, every argument I still have against the man beside me dissipates in a haze, and missed all of it when memory gets triggered from a few days ago.
Tio? The one you mentioned before? The uncle? The guy Rowan wanted to impress? Or was that a dare? I'm sorry, I can't recall. Is it the one who promised he'll take Big Brother someplace cool?
Yeah, the one and the same. Don't you know who he is?
I sure as hell don't, darling. Because if I do, I wouldn't have let everything I've said earlier come out of my mouth.
My Tio Luke, gazillionaire extraordinaire, am I? No, the fairy godfather.
He's your godfather. That's nice.
The one and only. Did I get that right, Tio?
More than right, sweetheart. I'm sure Miss Pink here understood everything you said quite perfectly.
Whatever that is landed at the bottom of my stomach prior. I shot straight up to my face and stayed there. The heat from it slowly spreading to my cheeks, coloring my face is almost in the same shade as my hair. If only the earth would swallow me whole here and now. His eyes are on me. I can feel him jeering, mocking. I can't even bring myself to look at him. What's in there? Amusement? I doubt it. He's probably having the time of his life right now. But I know, I can hear the sneer in his tone alone when he talks. He has that smug grin on him, which I may or may not want to punch off his face at the present just for the hell of it. But damage control. I need to do some damage control before this whole thing goes south. Who are we going to apologize to? We should apologize to Luke, really, because Luke's the one we kind of hurt here, right? There we go. Though it pains me to apologize to a sleazebag like him, this is my mistake with Kylie watching us close by. I don't want to set a bad example for her, do I? I'm surprised she grew up the child she is. If anything, I want to be the role model this man couldn't possibly become from her. Even if it means taking a few blows to my ego and stroking his insufferable one. A deep gulp of air, a short moment to swallow my self-respect, and then I'm facing him. The words are out of my mouth in a single breath.
I'm really sorry, sir. I had no idea.
His smirk is impossible to miss. He's not making an effort to hide it, and even the smile is so irritatingly present in his tone. If I could slap it off him, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
No, it's an honest mistake, Daisy.
No, I really mean it. I actually thought you were... And then...
It's fine now. It probably happens quite a lot to a few people who look suspicious to you. Seems I'm one of them now. But don't lose sleep over it. Do be careful with that book, though. A little more and you would have dislodged my poor brain off my head. What would I ever do if that happens?
Oh, no! Did it leave a mark or anything? If you want, we can have it checked. I'll handle the expenses if there's a need for...
Now, what kind of man would I be if I let an attractive woman such as yourself do that? Why don't we just look at it this way? My forgiveness is coming from the utter goodness of my heart.
So full of himself. Exactly the kind of person I'll happily leave to die in a ditch somewhere.
Of course, sir. Why didn't I think of it that way?
I know, right? But even someone as capable as you is bound to have a few lapses. No harm done, Daisy. Let's move on from this.
Well, if you're going to put it like that, then I guess there's nothing left for us to talk about.
I figured as much.
Awkward. The whole exchange is nothing but an awkward display of fake pleasantries, one that brings much agony to the very pride I've willingly held back a while ago. I might need a drink later so I can forget any of this ever happens. Who would have thought the time would come when I meet someone tougher to handle than Isabella? Miracles of miracles, I swear. Though to my surprise, he proffers me a hand shortly before they leave. For a shake, I realize, after a long minute staring at it, I accept, albeit half-heartedly, but all the goodwill that small gesture represents melts into the thin air when he winks at me. Winks! The gall of this man! However, there's no moment to ponder about it. Seconds later, the guy at the counter waves me over and hands me a paper bag as soon as I pay. He offers me another smile before I leave. Normally, I return it simply for the sake of returning it, or I don't at all, with the latter having more crumbly. For the time being, I do so freely. After that encounter and the scene we've caused, seeing a friendly gesture being extended to me, albeit from a person I barely know on a personal level, it feels like a reassurance despite bearing no promise of better days. I take what little of it I can with me as I step out into the night. Cloudless night sky greets me when I walk out of the cafe. Beyond the tall buildings, a blanket of stars spreads out before me. Common route. Alright, so back at the apartment, Isabella is scared. Apparently saw the ghost again. Didn't mean to skip through this far, but what can we do?
I'm so scared I won't be able to do anything.
By the end, her hands are trembling and her breathing comes out in rasping intervals. For a long moment, I let the silence stretch out between us, let her sobs fill it instead. But even as her soft whimpers die down minutes later, there's a heaviness hanging in the air. Not just from her, but also from me. From my exasperation over this whole matter, from my own frustrations over her stupid superstitions, even when she could all do us a favor and grow a backbone. She may be young, but she's no longer that young. It's about time to put an end to this. She can't keep going on like this. She's still got plenty of years to live out. And what if she goes home? What if we're no longer there to keep her fears in line with what's real? What would she do then? I'm more afraid for her, what kind of imagination will do to her than of what some imaginary monster could. But with the manner she's been looking at me right now, there's an expectation in it, a hope and a plea sewn together. She wants me to believe in her this time. If it's like that, then what am I supposed to say now? What she wants to hear or what she needs to hear? Well, obviously, what she wants to hear. As much as I want to set her straight, a reprimand isn't what she needs right now. With that pouty face she's giving me, I doubt it'll even end well if I push it. I know her. When she wants to be stubborn, she's stubborn. But there are moments when she can be acquiescing too, times when she'll be more accepting of what I tell her despite her inclination to disagree with it. So what she wants to hear and what she needs to hear are the same things right now, actually. That talk can wait. In the meantime, I'll be the ear that listens to her without judging her, without criticizing her, despite my own opinions on it.
You should have called me.
She stares at me like I've grown another head, and a laughter slips out before I can stop myself.
There? I can't do that! What will you do? Hit her with a book? You'll be dead before that happens!
That isn't what I'm talking about. After you got out. You should have phoned me. You didn't have to go to Zachary's.
The corners of her mouth curl up a sheepish smile by the general definition, but this is Isabella. Her smiles are never half-hearted, never lacks her high spirits. In spite of this, I know everything's going to be okay, somehow. After all, she's learned how to pick herself up long ago, long before we met.
Yeah. Sorry. I don't even remember how I ended up in Zach's place. I was in a hurry to get out of the office, and it was already late. Besides, I don't really think you'll believe me if I wake you up over something like that.
That's beside the point. True or not, there are people who will always be concerned about you. There's Zachary, but he's the first person you went to, and you didn't tell him anything. You just slept there. There's Ashton too, and me. But how do you think I'll be able to explain to your aunt or your family if you suddenly disappeared? Think about that.
Right. I'll remember that next time.
Then she grins, playful and mischievous, a preamble to an old banter. It's still not quite there, it's still not quite her usual self, but with it, I know we're bound to get her back
Mom.
soon.
I told you not to call me that.
I send an elbow to her side for added measure, but when laughter follows the familiar gesture, none of it is unexpected. This is what's comfortable. This is how we found an equal ground despite our stark differences. So, for the moment, I accept things as they are. Afterwards, a hush stretches out before us. For Isabella, this is rare. This isn't her. Yet in this moment, she fiddles with the edge of another paper near her as she hugs her knees close to herself and lets out a pensive expression linger on her. As if this is where everything's supposed to lead if we allowed it long ago. Seconds later, the moment's broken by the sound of a door being open and a voice begging some little peace.
How many times have I told you girls not to loiter around the hallway? It's noisy. Some people here are trying to sleep. Quiet down or go do your talking inside. I'm pinning a memo to your door the next time this happens. Millennials.
Sorry. We won't do it again.
You'd better.
The door closes and Isabella starts gathering the mess she's made, carefully stacking them all in her arm. At a loss of what to do, I help pick them up, and for the first time I get closer to it. Completely unintentional, of course, but it catches my attention nevertheless, and a confused frown makes its way to my face. Why is she looking through this? I look for her to an explanation, but she merely ignores the question in my eyes, takes the paper off my hand, and finishes cleaning up. The last paper she puts on top is a letter. The one she supposedly found in the mansion, and what's probably the root cause of this odd behavior. I shoot her a questioning look for that too, but all she gives me is a smile, and in a halting tone so completely
Becca,
unlike her.
I'll find a way out of this. You guys don't have to worry about me. Anyways,
Where are you going?
getting myself some food. Don't wait for me.
Isabella walks away before I can stop her, before I can remind her I've brought enough food here for the two of us. She quickly disappears down the stairwell while I'm left standing in an empty hallway holding 2 bags of takeout. One of them will go uneaten tonight. Just an innocent passing thought, one that I don't dwell on as much as I head to my room. I ignore all of it in the same way I've assumed I will never encounter that douche again. The brief lull in the past 2 days has offered is nice while it lasted, or as nice as it can get with worries of Isabella's whereabouts creeping up to me every now and then. She hasn't showed up after that last talk we had in the hallway, and the dinner I brought had since been given to a different neighbor before it spoils. By all means, this shouldn't be anything to lose sleep over. She's gone on work trips before, usually for a day or two. This simply might be one of those. Although it's often with the message saying exactly where. But it's the door note she has ended our last chat with that nulls.
Like an ugly premonition.
Sour, probably, not dour. And as it expected, just as things start to settle and its steady rhythm finally worms its way back to my routine, Thursday mornings brings further disturbance to now calm waters. With little ceremony, though, still enough to ripple through everything. In retrospect, I really should have seen this one coming. Luxembourg is a small city, relatively speaking. Compared to, say, London or Glasgow, it's nothing but a tiny mass of land, boasting a mere population of 68,000. Dower actually looks there. Oh. Okay. Oh, it works there? Okay. I guess I don't know what that means, but I'll have to look it up. Thanks for that. But those numbers alone are nothing to scoff at when standing in a busy street, and if you pay close enough attention, faces taking the crosswalk or riding the subway will soon grow familiar. How unfortunate that out of that number, it has to be Teal fucking Luke I encounter more than fucking once. Oh, dour means gloomy, dark, severe. Okay, thank you very much. I am quite, Apparently I didn't know that.
Oh, you know, a few problems popping up here and there that the agents failed to tell us somehow. Nothing a few hired hands can't fix, of course. I would have preferred a place near the city and something that's new to save us all the trouble. But darling wife insisted. Who am I to say no?
Ah, are you kidding me?
His smug head is the first thing I see upon turning into the hall, in spite of the small crowd of parents and students gathered at the corridor for the primary's career day. Alright. We've seen this, so we're gonna skip through some of this. Skip time. You are good at handling her, or you really think that? Which does... I think you're good at handling her might help him more. Let's go back. I was stupid and...
You really think that?
Yeah, that brings him down. You're good at handling her. I have no plans of getting too friendly with the man, though. He might have some good points, emphasis on might. Alright. Skipping again. Continue to skip. Where are we at? Still on this part. Okay. Just wanted to make sure we didn't miss any new text that's coming up in the next split, I think. Skip, 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 skip. Yep. You see Kylie possessed in the bathroom. And now we're back. We're going to the library here. Do we have other things to do, or are we going to go with Tio, Luke, and Kylie before this craziness happens. What are we gonna do here? I think we said in the death run that we had other things to do. So, I think in either way, who does that affect? If that affects just Luke, yeah, it affects just Luke. Okay, we're gonna go with him. I wasn't sure if it affected any of the other characters or not. Okay, but only because Kylie asked. In the end, it's my unfondness for Kylie that wins out. Chances are I'll only have to endure his presence for an hour or so. If it lasts more than that, I can make up an excuse. A sudden call from my friend or things to work on. It doesn't seem so bad when I think of the pros and cons. At best, it'll be a quiet dinner. At worst, it'll be an awkward affair we're both eager to rid of. I'm leaning more in the latter happening, hoping for the former, of course.
Okay, but only because Kylie asked.
Kylie's face instantly lights up. For the third time today, she tackles me into a hug before pulling away and dragging the hand towards the building's exit.
That's alright. I'm sure Tio doesn't mind. He let me pick where we're going to eat. Don't worry, it's just close.
And I think that's a wrap for now. Well, when we catch up, we'll continue Rebecca's Good Route. Thanks for stopping out on the stream, and if you're watching, thank you for being a viewer. Again, my name is Eclepid, and peace out.